do something a little bit more in depth for you, I'll do it. We're not 50 people here, so whatever you guys need. Well, I'll get started with the first one. This is the one that everybody was asking about earlier today. We have 3 cases that have come to conclusion or fruition, if you will, in the realm of traffic homicide investigation. The first one is Mrs. Shield that everybody was asking about today. Madison Casey Shield, 9/21 of 94, was arrested on the 29th on a warrant, Cape Coral Police Department warrant. On the 28th of May, State Attorney's Office approved a warrant of our traffic homicide investigator, Andrew Satterley, for the arrest of Madison Casey Shield for the charge of DUI manslaughter in reference to the THI, or traffic homicide investigation, from October 10th, 2012. That was at 1200 block, in the 1200 block of Andalusia Boulevard. On the 29th, she was placed under arrest for the warrant. I have information about the original case if you should need it. She had a blood alcohol content of 0.108 and also marijuana in her system at the time of the crash. And we can go back to specifics on that. The second case we have is on May 23rd. The State Attorney's Office approved a warrant request from Corporal Andrew Satterley of the traffic unit for the arrest of Robert A. Culbertson III for the charge of reckless driving involving the death in reference to a traffic homicide investigation from August 1st, 2012. On the 23rd of May, the Lee County Sheriff's Office Fugitive Warrants Task Force located Mr. Culbertson and placed him under arrest for the warrant. Mr. Culbertson had a blood alcohol level of 0.053 2 hours after the crash in which his mother was killed. The third one we have, somebody can let them in. Better late than never.
Sorry, we're late.
There's also a warrant approved for Demi Pearson on the charge of reckless driving with serious bodily injury referenced to a traffic homicide investigation from July 12th, 2012. This was the THI that resulted in the death of a 12-week-old unborn child. She is currently incarcerated near Ocala, Florida, and will be transferred down here to answer to these charges. Her blood alcohol content was 0.068 approximately 2 hours after the crash. Those are the 3 updates that we have. If you have any specific questions, we can get into those, and I'll catch you guys up whenever you...
I guess my first question is just on the Shield one. Did it just take so long to arrest her because you're waiting for the toxicology? Or?
That's part of it. The thing about traffic homicide investigations is the word homicide is in it. A lot of people equate these or lean more towards a traffic crash, when even though they occur on the roadway or originate from a roadway like a crash, they're not a typical traffic accident. They are a death investigation or serious bodily injury investigation that if this happened in a home or as a result of any other type of crime, the time frame is usually not questioned. And it's, if we think of it in terms of that, it lasts, these last a little bit longer. They're very painstaking. And these are people's loved ones that are depending on us, any agency, to investigate this thoroughly and to make sure that justice is done.
Now, how about the last 2? The blood alcohol levels were below the legal limits. Now, this was, of course, 2 hours after. Are there still plans to put some sort of DUI on that, even though it happened 2 hours after?
The one is a reckless driving, so it's not a DUI.
Okay.
And that's one of the factors involved in that.
Okay.
And back to the Shield case, what other evidence did you gather that led to this arrest besides her BAC?
That's a good portion of it. A lot of the other part of the evidence is the traffic crash investigation itself. It's a 2-vehicle accident, 1 driver in each car. There was not a lot of mystery as to what happened as far as the traffic crash goes. And then when you get into why or how this happened, that leads you back to the root cause. And one of the root causes is the impairment, and then the fact that somebody died as a result of the impairment of the crash. That's the main body of evidence that we have.
And had her BAC been lower, it would have been a different charge?
Correct.
Do you have any more information on the marijuana, like how much was in there, how recently she might have smoked? Or?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you know, can you say if she was severely impaired from that as well, or just?
I cannot.
And how has she been with your officers? Has she been cooperative?
I don't know. I don't know what the demeanor has been or what the back and forth has been.
Any idea if she's remorseful for what happened? Or?
I don't know.
What were the dates on the second 2?
The first one was Shield. The second one that I mentioned was Culbertson. That was from August 1st of 2012. And
And the arrest
July 15th.
was the third crash?
Pardon?
July 15th was the date of the third crash, or?
July 15th, 2012 was the third crash, and August 1st, 2012 was the other crash.
Okay, so on the second one, August, you said, and then arrested just, a week ago? or
All
something?
within, since the 23rd of this month.
Okay, gotcha.
What was in the third crash? What was the person doing in Ocala? Was that due to a traffic violation as well, or was that person just found there?
That person is incarcerated there.
Okay, do you know what they were incarcerated there for?
I believe there's a burglary charge.
And those second two cases, were those similar as far as what you were saying about toxicology results, these things just taking a little bit of time?
Yes, and that's a blanket statement for any type of a traffic homicide investigation. If you think of it in the terms of it's a full-on investigation into someone's death, they take a little bit longer. There's higher stakes involved, just by the nature of the investigation, and therefore they do take a lot longer than your standard injury accident on the roadway.
Besides the third accident, or did these other two people have previous records?
I don't know.
Culbertson, that was the name of the second one?
Correct.
What was the name of the deceased?
The deceased on that one, the deceased was his mother. That was Barbara Joan Culbertson,
You know how old she was?
born in 31,
Okay. You know, did you say a month in there?
April 25th.
What about the third one, did you say unborn child or child?
Unborn.
Okay, gotcha.
And you said the second two were both reckless driving charges?
I'm going to get away from calling them 2 and 3 because I'm doing the
Yeah,
old
sorry,
Carmani up
the
here. No, that's not your
Culbertson.
fault. Culbertson was charged with reckless driving resulting in death. So it's a reckless driving charge with aggravating circumstances where somebody dies. And then the Demi Pearson is a reckless driving with serious bodily injury in which an unborn child died. Same charge. It's serious bodily injury to a person or an unborn child on reckless driving.
I just want Pearson, EA or IE?
Pearson. Demi, D-E-M-I. She has not been arrested yet. We're working on the transportation issue right now.
Will you be able to get these records after the?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
After what?
After we're done here.
No. You can get whatever they have at records you can get.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything for you here.
Oh, okay.
So you said Pearson hasn't been arrested yet, but she's already incarcerated in Ocala.
On other charges, and logistically, we're working on getting her down here to answer to these. Much like any other type of death investigation or major crime, we work hand in hand with the state attorney's office, and that's what these were warrants approved by them. And when there's a warrant, when we're walking a warrant through or building or developing a case, there's a relationship established with the state attorney and a little bit of back and forth of what they need to successfully prosecute and what we can produce evidentiary. So that's another reason why the things go back and forth. That's not an adversarial relationship, don't read into that. That's just the nature of two agencies trying to come to the same resolution.
And what can you say to the victims of all these crashes about, this has been some time, what can you say about how serious you're taking this and as far as?
I think today's pretty good evidence that we take it very seriously. We have a good, strong working relationship with the prosecutors at the state attorney's office to get these prosecuted and charged and looked at just as any other type of crime or any other type of incident where somebody dies. As we stated, the day that these happen, we grieve with the families, we understand, we empathize, this is what we do, and we don't rest and we don't take it lightly, and we see these things all the way through.
As far as all this happening within about a week, is that just because that's when the lab work came back, or why is it all?
A lot of these are within the, not too far off from each other in occurrence, and when our team is working on them, a lot of these cases kind of flow together, and this, just by happenstance on these, we don't usually get them all in a bulk, but they happen to happen, or happen to occur, I should say, in a bulk type of a occurrence. And this is how we prepare the case for prosecution.
Sorry about that. What are these assailants, these people who were involved, what are they facing as far as jail time? And
We have the DUI manslaughter charge is a second-degree felony, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison. Many different factors play into that, such as prior history, among one of them. And the 2 reckless driving deaths are third-degree felonies, which carry a prison term of up to 5 years.
Was there a previous DUI involved in that first case?
I don't know. A little bit early to tell on the sentencing, and these are arrests, and there's trials to be had, and convictions, plea bargains, or innocent findings to be had before we get to the penalty phase. But these charges are second and third degree felonies respectively, and those are the prison time allocations that they may face.
Obviously, all 3 of these drivers did have some level of alcohol in their system, though 2 were below the legal limit. Any general message to drivers on the road?
Obviously, don't drink and drive. It's an old slogan, an old poster that you've seen, but there are real-world, permanent consequences to actions. And there's so many options now to get a safe ride, an alternative to this. And a lot of the new thinking is have a plan in place before you go out, or before you do any type of celebrating or ingesting of harmful substances before you drive, because it happens very fast. None of these people, I can tell you, planned when they woke up in the morning for this to happen, and nobody does. But what you can plan for is an alternative to get where you need to go, because much like any other type of crime where somebody gets hurt and or killed, a lot of these actions are permanent.
Was a speed factor in the Culberson and Pearson?
I don't have that information. I know a couple of you came in late. We can start over for you guys that don't have the rest of the information. For everybody that was here, do you have any more questions?
You want to just get that mic back?
Can you just actually spell Jenny Pearson for me?
P-E-M-I, middle name V as in Victor, Pearson, P-E-A-R-S-O-N.
Thank you.
Culbertson is...
C-U-L-B-E-R-T-S-O-N, the third, Robert.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right, so round 2.
Let me just stay just to get everything else I need.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Thank you. Got it. Guys, if you want to adjust shop or whatever you want to do. I'll do it like we did this last one. We'll do it kind of loose. I'll just explain what we've had, and then if you have any questions, fire away.
I'm gonna stay just to double, just to make sure everything's fine.
Okay. Now that they're gone, a totally different story.
What do you got? Okay, I'm ready.
You guys good?
Yep.
Okay. We have 3 traffic homicide investigations that have come to completion. They've culminated with arrest in these 3 cases. I'm going to read what we have, reference back to when they occurred, and then if you have any specific questions about those cases, feel free to ask. The first is on the 28th of May, 2013, the State Attorney's Office approved a warrant for traffic homicide investigator Corporal Andrew Satterley of the Cape Coral Police Department for the arrest of Madison Casey Shield for the charge of DUI manslaughter in reference to the traffic homicide investigation from October 10th, 2012 that occurred at 1200 Andalusia Boulevard. On the 29th, Cape Coral Police placed Shield under arrest at Cape Coral Police Department for that warrant. I have information about that original crash. Shield had a medical blood alcohol content of 0.108 and also marijuana in her system at the time of the traffic crash. Second case we have, on May 23rd, the State Attorney's Office approved a warrant for Robert A. Culbertson III for the charge of reckless driving involving the death of his mother in reference to a traffic homicide investigation that occurred on August 1st, 2012. On May 23rd, the Lee County Sheriff's Office Warrant Fugitive Task Force located Mr. Culbertson and placed him under arrest. The third case I have, On May 23rd, the State Attorney's Office approved a warrant for Demi V. Pearson on the charge of reckless driving with serious bodily injury in reference to a traffic homicide investigation from July 15th, 2012. This THI resulted in the death of a 12-week-old unborn child. On the 29th of May, she's actually incarcerated right now near Ocala, Florida, and we are logistically working on getting her down here to answer to these charges. If you have any specific questions about these cases, one of them that came up, I'll just answer it now. The DUI manslaughter is a second-degree felony that calls for a term of imprisonment not to exceed 15 years, so up to 15 years in prison may be sentenced upon that. And the two reckless driving cases, reckless driving with injury, is a felony of the third degree that carries a prison term not to exceed 5 years. Anything you may have?
So these all pretty much came together at the same time. How did all these investigations just culminate at the same time?
A lot of the cases happened around the same time, within a couple of weeks or month period last year. Like we talked about earlier, if we get into the mindset of a traffic homicide investigation or a death on the roadway investigation, is very similar in nature to a death that occurs in a home or any other type of setting. They're very painstaking. There's a lot of evidentiary procedures and just a large body of evidence that needs to be gone over. And these are real human beings that have passed away and real loved ones that are counting on us to get it right and work with the State Attorney's Office to prosecute the appropriate charges. And we take our time and do it right just like we would any other death investigation.
And, you were touching on this earlier, but is there something more that needs to be done around here to make the roads safer? Or are these just, things that are going to happen?
Well, all three of these cases are similar in the fact that people were, they did have some evidence that substances were used. One was over the legal limit, two were not over the legal limit, but there was evidence that they had, and the BAC was taken hours after the crash, and there was still a presence of alcohol, and we're close to the legal limit. If the proposed, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, they proposed lowering it to 0.05, all three of them would have been over the legal limit. So,
Why was the BAC taken hours after?
when there's injuries to crashes, sometimes you don't get them to the hospital and get those. Those are some of the factors that you get. There's always a delay anyway, even if you think of a traffic stop where somebody's impaired and you bring them back. There's about a 30-minute to an hour sometimes delay before you get them on a breathalyzer, and then when you complicate matters by an injury crash, that can even take longer.
Can you say about the cooperation between agencies here? It's all those photos, Attorney's Office.
Oh, I think it's very strong. We have dedicated prosecutors for major crimes, and we're actually working on some even more strengthening and collaborative partnerships with them now. That's a very strong, always has been, partnership between us and the SAO to get cases prosecuted.
Do you think it'd be important to lower the BAC limit?
Really not for me to say. We talked about this when this came out. A couple of agencies, our news agencies, had asked about it. The majority of our traffic stop where somebody's impaired, I'd say in the high 90% are 0.10, 0.12, double the legal limit. They're compared to 0.08, they're very impaired. So 0.05 would not show up in a great deal on a traffic stop type of an arrest. And I said it a few weeks ago, and this is kind of proven out. The majority of your 0.05 to 0.08, that new gap that would be created would come out in traffic crashes, and the two of the three of these would have. That's where you're going to see it. So the 0.05 would help lower DUI crashes and DUI incidents, I believe, by getting publicity out. That it doesn't take much for you to be at a 0.05. So education, awareness, and for lack of a better way, fear of consequences, fear of the repercussions would get people to change their behavior. That's where I think you would see it. So these are two good examples right here.
Yep. Okay.
So, thank you.
You got it.
Thanks for doing it twice.
No problem.